Okay, I'm going to do Plato's sixth book in the Republic. I just did the fifth book, which is where what was introduced is the Philosopher King and the Forms. And basically, in this book, in the sixth book, what is given is the analogy of the sun and the analogy of the line, or the divided line. And in the seventh book, we get the analogy of the cave, which I believe is most famous out of all three of those analogies. So, we came by with that. So here we're first discussing that only philosophers can have knowledge, because only they are those that apprehend and understand the forms. Now, mind you, this whole philosopher king did not really work. It did not work at all. But it's just cool to think about, anyways. The philosophers are the ones that are able to understand what's best for the whole of the city. They are the ones that are best able to kind of understand that, and if they're aligned with the forms and they have the most knowledge, and if they know the most, they have the most knowledge and the best knowledge, and they have the idea of what is best for the whole city. Philosophers are superior in virtue to everyone. Also, they're truth seekers. You will hear, in contemporary epistemology about truth seekers. That's just a term that they use sometimes. They're truth seekers. They love truth. They try to gain truth. And this is it's cool because in much longer after Plato, and even the logical positivists and before and after, we get these discussions about how is knowledge and justification related to truth, and it's just cool because there's a epistemology inside of here. They love truth and they love wisdom. The philosopher's soul is, aiming at truth. So, like you said, he's a truth seeker, and that is a lot of what makes his soul just. So that's another understanding of what justice is here. So from this, this is what Socrates is saying. Then, Adeimantus states that philosophers are nothing like what you were just saying, Socrates. These philosophers that you were talking about are nothing like this. And Socrates says, yeah, that's true, but the current philosophers that you're talking about were not brought up or raised well. They were not brought up to be like this. They were not brought up to be these truth seekers. It's like, in the previous books, he talks about how one brings up guardians and how they're educated and how they, there's so much in the previous 5 books, mostly 2 through 5-ish, where it's like a bunch of rules about how guardians are supposed to live, and how these people are supposed to live, because it's just like a bunch of rules, and it's about correct upbringing. So a philosopher would be brought up as a guardian, and then would be chosen as a philosopher based upon his extraordinary excellence, basically. The current philosophers, he says they're corrupted, basically. They're nothing like this. So yeah, they have to have a better upbringing than the current ones that you're thinking about are. Other philosophers are not of use because society is opposed to correct ideas, to correct understandings of things. But we need philosopher king of right nature. That's his idea of a right nature, where he is, his knowledge is in correlation with the forms. He's, this truth seeker type. So it's like the sailor on the ship. It's like the sailor of the ship, who, a ship is not gonna do very well if you have a bunch of sailors on there who don't really know what they're doing. But if you have somebody on there who knows of ships, the ship will do a lot better and probably get to where it's going and get back to land a lot faster. So, it's all about being aligned with these forms. So that's what the philosopher has to be like. It's just all about this. Is everything aligned with the forms? The reason these current philosophers are corrupt is because they're not aligned. They're not apprehending. They're not understanding the forms. They're not the truth seeker type. So, how do we produce these philosopher kings? How do we bring them up and make them? How do we, teach them and make them into the philosopher king, truth seeker type we want them to be? And first of all, we try to see who's loyal among all of the guardians, who's most loyal. And in book 3, that's what is going on. Like, in books 2 through 5, like I said, a lot of rules are being given as to how these people are to be brought up, these guardians, in order to keep the city unified. It's all a goal of to keep the city as a whole unit, into where the rulers are doing what is necessary for the whole of the city, that the city has a unified aim. What is most important that the philosopher king, align himself with among the forms is the form of good. In the analogy of the divided line, the form of the good is at the very top. It's what you're ultimately striving for. So it's like, that's another case where we have ethics laid within metaphysics. So if you are just like trying to get your head around philosophy, then the Republic is a definitely really good way to go. I mean, there is a lot of rules about stuff like that, about how a city is brought up and such, about rules about how people should live and such. But it's definitely a really good way to understand even basic political philosophy, basic epistemology, basic metaphysics, and basic ethics. Or maybe basic aesthetics a little bit, but if for that, I'd recommend the Ion. So, who the philosopher king must understand the form of the good in order to be, excellent, extraordinarily excellent. And it's through this that you get your highest level of possible knowledge. The form of the good being at the top of all the forms. If you can understand and correlate yourself and align yourself with that form and understand it and wrap your head around it, then that's the highest level of knowledge that you can possibly achieve. That is what makes a guardian fit to be a philosopher king. It's that form of the good, and how is the guardian related to it? That's the test. That's the bedrock test for it. The form of the good it's not common sense morality. Like, it's kind of like the way I think of common sense morality. It's like, if you loan me $2, and I don't pay you back, and after a while, be like, hey, you have to pay me back. That is actually not fair. Pay me back. If you read the beginning of C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, you will understand that that idea of common sense morality. It's basically that. Um, so the form of the good is not this. It's not this common sense idea of morality. It's not the common idea of what is good. It's not pleasure. It's not knowledge. It's not. You can't just like pin down in a certain way what the form of the good is. The common person can't, and the only one that really can figure out what this is what the form of the good is the philosopher king. I mean, it's you can kind of have, it's kind of like if you try to ask somebody, hey, what is good, what does good mean, and they will have a difficulty kind of telling you. It's kind of like in Quine's W.V. Quine's article Two Dogmas of Empiricism. He kind of knocks down this idea of the analytic, and he knocks down reductionism, all based on we don't have a really good idea of what meaning is anyway. So we don't really have a line drawn between analytic and synthetic. So he asks you, okay, what is meaning? It's not definition. It's not singular term reference. It's not extension. It's not interchangeability. Salvo veritate. Nor is it having a set of semantical rules. That's kind of one thing. But just kind of thinking about this as to how, if you were to be asked what is the good, you wouldn't have a distinct answer. So that's what this is really saying. We kind of have somewhat of a idea. We can figure out what's bad immediately. If I say, hey, I'm going to go, blow up a hospital or whatever, they say, no, that's bad, So we don't really have a good idea of this anyway. So we have a few analogies here to understand what this good is, to understand what it is. First, we have the analogy of the sun. Now, I drew a couple things, but I don't know if it's helpful. So there's 3 reasons that basically the comparing what the sun is to people here and what the good is, or it's, well, basically this also talks about it doesn't really talk about it, but it refers to a distinction that is given in the divided line more explicitly, where we have an intelligible and a visible realm. The visible realm is the more lower realm, where I can understand whatever is in the visible realm. I can kind of understand that. What is in the intelligible realm is more of the abstract objects. It's kind of like, and basically the whole thing with this, it's not really easy to kind of explain. So if any of you have a better explanation of this, of how to explain the divided line better than I'm going to, then please comment below. That myself and anybody watching this can definitely benefit from a better explanation of what this is, of what is being said in this dialogue. So it's basically a comparing between the sun, the sun and its source of light in the visible realm versus the good and its source of intelligibility in the intelligible realm. So first, there's 3 reasons why why there's this analogy of how the sun is to its source of light in the visible realm, as the good is to intelligibility in the intelligible realm. The first one is the sun is the source of light and visibility in the visible realm, while the good is the source of intelligibility in the intelligible realm. So, you know, not counting artificial light. You know, if I'm outside and I can see my watch or whatever I have on, you know, that's only because of what the sun is giving. You know, if it's daytime, I can only see the ground below me because of the sun. So the source, the light it gives off and its effects of that source and the sun itself are different. It's like, you know, the big thing, you know, has effects on all the smaller things. So that's the same way the good is. The good is at the top of the divided line and makes everything else below it intelligible. 2, the sun is responsible for giving us ability to see, because it's due to its incorporation of sun-like things into it that the eye has the ability to see. So the sun is the reason why we have the ability to see things. I think it's one reason. Its incorporation of sun-like things into it. So the good is like that as well. The good is the reason other things are intelligible. Number 3, the sun is responsible for things coming to be in causality. In the visible realm, you know, where we have regular sensations, flows, you know, or regular seasons, and it lets flowers bloom and such. So the sun allows things to come to be. So it's like we have the sun, which causes the event of the flower blooming, you know, and lots of other things, really. Well, the good in the intelligible realm is responsible for the existence of all the other forms. The form of the good is beyond actual being. It's the ultimate aim of anyone's knowledge. So it's kind of hard to explain because there's not a real, hence, like, straightforward definition of what the good is. It's just the ultimate aim of all the knowledge. So it's kind of comparing the sun and everything it does in this realm, the visible realm, to everything that really happens by the good as to all the other things. So this here is the divided line. Here we have the intelligible realm, and then we go down and we have the visible realm, and this is the grades of knowledge versus doxa, episteme versus doxa. So you'll notice at the top there's the form of the good. If you just Google that and then go to images, you know, it'll show you, you know, a better, you know, image of this line. The reason all the other forms and all the other, you know, grades of knowledge and everything else is really able to really be that way is because of the form of the good. So it's the highest form possible. That's basically that's the best way of kind of understanding it. So I'm gonna start from the bottom here. The bottom two things are the doxa. They're the visible realm, and they are the bottom one is imagination, and it's via it's kind of, you can think about it in the way of Descartes. Um, they're the you know so we have imagination, which is a person in the state of imagination of a thing. It's where there's an image. It's not a real thing there, but it reflects things of the world. It's of a thing that is real. Number three, which is belief. Um, it's it looks to things in the visible realm, as does imagination, and it makes contact with real things. I can have a belief about really anything in this world. I can have a belief about this cup or whatever. I can have a belief about these things. So it makes actual contact with the things in the world. So I want you to think about this divided line as building up towards ultimate, pure knowledge. Basically, he doesn't really. I don't think he uses the word pure by any means, but it's kind of a build up in this thing of pure knowledge. And that corresponds to the form of the good, really. So this belief, it's about things in the world. Like, we can have belief or opinion about things of the world, about real things, and it's about sensible particulars. Um, you know, um, so that those are the two things in the visible realm. In the intelligible realm, we first have thought, which it deals with the forms and uses the sensible particulars, which are in the visible realm, to help reasoning out. So it's like how it's like how it's I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like how if I see something that is a cube, if I see like a sugar cube, say for instance, let's say I'm giving a sugar cube to a horse or something like that, and I look at the box, I see how they're all cubes, and let's say I want to draw this um, geometrical figure, and I can draw it, and I can show its dimensions and such. Uh, that is not an actual thing. What I'm thinking about is not really, but it corresponds entirely to something real. It deals in real things, and thus it deals in the forms. So it's what is called dianoia. It's it's a higher kind. It's moving more towards any possible knowledge. Now the highest one, which is understanding, it's uses objects and thoughts to get to understanding, and it deals ultimately in the forms. It's the first principle, the universal proposition. So when you hear the word universal proposition, in philosophy, you hear that in Fichte. You hear that in neo-Kantians like Reinhold and J.S. Beck. You hear that in other 19th century continental philosophy as well. It's just like this principle conditions all other ones. When you have a first universal principle, it's a principle that conditions all of the other ones, and it's basically. It's a basic kind of idea because it conditions everything else. If you understand the form of the good, then you understand all that follows from it. You understand all of the forms also. If you understand the form of the good, then you understand all of the forms. So that's kind of a good way of understanding the form of the good, because you can, through that, you understand all the rest of the forms. So I think of that as I think of this as like the right as, I don't know, this is kind of my own thought, really, of the form of the form of the good, according to Plato, as the right way in which things are. You know, you can have normative epistemology, normative ethics. You can have normative metaphysics, or whatever you want. But I think that the form of the good, because if you can understand that, you can understand all of the other forms. If you understand the form of the good through dialectic understanding, then you understand the right way things must be. So that's kind of a way I kind of think of this, and I think that's the best way to understand the form of the good, because it's the good as in it's good as in it's good of thinking of it that way, because that's the way it is and must be. The understanding is the dialectic. It's the highest form of knowledge, and the highest thing that you can ever go for is is to understand the form of the good, and that's what this first thing of dialectic does. You can, use this to understand the form of the good. Let's see here, and it's just like we have this idea of all this. Now, if you differ in my idea of what the form of the good is, now in the way I explained it, in my way of explaining it, let me know, because it's cool to think about different ways of understanding ancient things, and I think of it as that it's the object of knowledge, because it's the object that you want to gain knowledge of, because if you gain knowledge of that, you gain knowledge of everything else in the forms. And if you gain knowledge of that, then you gain knowledge of the way things are and must be. There's a right way, good as in it's normative in the right way things are, and shall be and must be. And I think the words must and shall are normative words. It's like if you read Edmund Husserl's Prolegomena to Pure Logic, in the second chapter, he talks about this. Normative science, in that there's a way that things shall be given a certain theoretical disciplines. Let me know what you think. I have 7, 8, 9, and 10. I have 4 books left in this dialogue to discuss, so I should probably be doing that soon. So, again, if there's something that you think that you think you can explain better, or if you think I misconstrued something, let me know. Comments are right there.